All right, well, hopefully this is the real recording. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first week of biology. Really excited to get started and meet all of you. We'll go over a couple of things about the course, and then hopefully I've asked my instructors to make themselves available today, to introduce themselves, although we'll see how many are actually able to do this. Um, we will see. If you haven't been given certain links and stuff, don't worry, we'll get those to you. Every year we urge people to sign up early, and then every year people sign up at the last minute, and then it ends up meaning that our staff is like super behind um on like signing up on like getting stuff out until like the last 2 days. So if you haven't done it yourself, you signed up in the last like 2 to maybe 3, like yesterday, today, and like the day before that. Um, like sorry, like it may feel automated, but actually all of our stuff is done by hand. So it really is a very personalized experience for everyone in that like someone like puts in the email and makes your Canvas link and stuff each time. So if it takes a little while, we're sorry about that. We are a small family-owned business. I do not hate people who sign up late. Like it's just that every year we're like, hey, try to sign up early, to help our staff out. And like our staff like stays up late doing this. So it's very challenging. Um so yeah, if you sign up before, you should have your links. If you sign up at least a week before. So if that's the case and you still don't have it, then please do email us at kevinbaobiology@yahoo.com. Uh, so just keep that in mind. Um, we're getting ready to get started now, everyone. If you have your IDs, please put your ID in your class name. This will allow us to know that you are a member of this class. If you're wondering why we have to do this, it's because a couple years ago we didn't, and then we got attacked by bots, and so now we have to verify everyone all the time because of the bot problem. So please make sure you do that, and this way we can make sure that you are, a real human being who was able to do this. Okay, so why don't we get started? Welcome. If you quickly, if you're in the chat and you're new, this is a great chance to send your first message. Just type a hi if you are, or like what level you are if you're a new student, so that we can see who you are. Right? Get a chance to say hello. The more you send messages, the more help you will get, and the more I'm able to like help you guys. So hello everyone. It's so good to see all of you. Um, I highly encourage you guys, if you guys have questions or anything, to put it in the chat, and to just put it in the public chat, since that's the place I'm going to look most. I know Zoom lets you send me direct messages and DMs, but those I honestly respond to more slowly. And you might be like, oh, but I'm shy and I'm embarrassed, and I don't want everyone to know that I don't know what a chloroplast is. And my response to that would be. Well, if you knew everything, then like, why would you take a class? And two, like, if you have a question, probably someone else also has a question. So just feel free to ask your questions, and I highly encourage you guys to do that. Uh, I will say that generally speaking, in the middle of class, try to ask questions that are relevant to what we're going over. Don't ask like. I get a lot of these questions, and so we have a webinar where we answer that, so you can go watch the webinar. But don't ask me like, how should I study? How come this chapter takes me so long to read? What is better to read, this book or this other book? Those are questions that like I will like answer a couple every week, but like if you ask them all the time during class, it makes it really difficult for us to continue with the material. So I highly encourage you guys to sort of not ask those questions. Um, I don't get that mad. I'm known for my even temper and never getting mad. So just feel free to ask any questions. Um, I do not hate questions. Please do not mislead people. I do not get mad. I'm very nice. If you ask me really dumb questions, eventually I might start getting a little mad. But uh, I actually think that I have become a lot more patient in the last year since I have been teaching like in real life, and that means that and that means I have to be a lot more patient. I will say that for anyone who wonders how my classroom manner is, it's like similar to how I teach this class. So it's not like you're getting like a wildly different experience. So why don't we get started? So first, every week we have classes, depending on what level you're in. So everybody will attend what we call the common lectures. This is the main lecture. It's sort of meant to anchor everyone to the course so that you guys always know what's going on. Any major things that change, updates will be announced in this class. Uh, just remember that it's every Saturday from 7 to 9. This is the only class that starts at 7 Eastern Time, 4 Pacific Time. Uh, so that's from 7 to 9. It's 2 hours. We'll sometimes go a little over, sometimes and a little early, usually over and not early for anyone who is familiar. Although my class usually ends on time. I'll just say that I'm pretty good at keeping it on time. Uh, and then we have 1 hour of case study. For those who were in my class last year, you know this was a level one module, and Vishal did a great job. Vishal will be going over applications of various topics we have uh, to sort of cases in medicine and other sort of related applications, which I hope will be helpful for everyone. And then 1 hour of homework review for everybody as well each week on Fridays. So if you are in if you're sort of everybody will have class Saturday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, right? So those 3 days. And then everybody, if you're in level one, you'll have class on Wednesdays and Tuesdays. On Wednesday, you have problem solving with the incomparable Suzuko Oshima. He hails from Southern California. It's been a little while since we've had another SoCal representative. Joseph and I obviously started the course and are from SoCal, but Suzuko is from the same area. So we're happy, excited to have someone new. From the Southern California area. He competed at the IBO alongside our other staffer Jason, and he did very well. He got a gold medal. So we're really excited to have Suzuko here teaching problem solving. Um, and then we have lecture primer each Tuesday. For those who are in level one, may remember Jason as our intrepid lecture primer instructor. Jason is one of the earliest biology students. Um, he was there in the first season of biology, and he eventually made IBO and was super successful. And now he's at Harvard. So we're excited to have Jason back in the semester teaching lecture primer. This is sort of a preamble to the main lecture. So main lecture is meant to be at a higher level usually, and so that's exactly how this course is meant to be. We have 1 hour for level two students, those who are in the more advanced level, we have skill building. Skill building is an office hours that's basically like a journal club. Students will read some papers, they'll be assigned, and our very own Sunny Poon Biswas, who is a finalist from last year and will be going to MIT this fall, will be teaching that course. He has a lot of experience with doing research. You know, his parents are professors, so we're excited to have him teach this course. For those who were here last year, you know that problem solving and skill building were taught by two of our staff members who, if you get a chance to see them on the Discord or somewhere, please congratulate them on graduating from college. They'll be going off to do bigger and brighter things. Larry will be starting his PhD at Harvard, and Grayson will be starting med school, I believe, in Washington. Um, and and we have added new concepts will be taught in level two each Sunday by Joseph, who has been a longtime staff member, also a finalist, and we going to grad school very soon. Does any staff members here would they like to introduce themselves? I think it's only Joseph who's here. Unless he also left, then in which case it's just me.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Joseph. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Joseph. I graduated from UPenn. In 2019, I camped, silver medalist, and I guess we'll be teaching new concepts, basically topics that are too difficult for like the main lecture, so we kind of like teach them in new concepts. Yeah, and I guess I'm going to graduate school at Carnegie Mellon in the fall, so that's to look forward to.
Wow. So exciting. I always want to make like meme references, but I feel like people will like not understand them. I wanted to say, wow, grape, but I don't think anybody would understand what that reference is. So we'll just move on. Uh, wait, okay, if this who don't know, the reference is there's these videos of like I don't know what it is. It's like some sort of event in Pakistan where they have a bunch of kids go up and then they're like, I love Pakistan. My dream is to destroy India. And the lady goes, wow, great. And I actually don't know what said this. That's just what they're saying in that video, all right? Um, it's like really weird, funny. I don't know what possessed people to attend such an event. So yeah. Um, a couple of logistical things for the class. Each week there are readings that are assigned in the syllabus, and the readings are intended to be completed before the start of class. The more you do before class starts, the better off you will be, right? The course is designed to be challenging, so as a result, it's better for you to have preparation beforehand rather than after the fact. So I highly recommend doing the readings beforehand. And if you have lecture primer, reading it before lecture primer would be super helpful as well. Um, we have help available on Discord 24/7 all the time. Anytime you want help, we'll help you on the Discord. The Discord links should be sent out after class, Joseph, or will they be sent out like later? I'm hoping Joseph is more available this year to be around and help with like moderation. But otherwise, if you're very well behaved during class, we give you the co-host role, and you can help me kick out people who are not logged in or are being disruptive in class. Please, I ask that everyone in class to not be disruptive, right? We like to have fun in this class, but the goal is still trying to teach biology. Oh, hi, Jaden. Glad to see that you're back. Please try not be too disruptive. If you have like a really terrible question, like just don't ask it. Like there's no need. I'm gonna say this. If you have a question that's like content, you should ask during class because I'm more likely to answer you seriously during class for content. But if you have a question that's like, hey, I don't know how to study. Like, don't ask me in class, right? Just don't. Like, it's just gonna like distract everyone. Um, okay. And then homework will be posted ideally by Monday after lecture. There's no homework this week. We might post like a benchmark quiz just for you guys to like look at. And so that also means that this week for homework review, someone will just be going ahead and giving some sort of like review topic or just a quick introduction to like what the course is about. But we'll just have a benchmark quiz. The homework isn't graded. It's just there for you to practice. Um, Look, we're not always perfect about writing homeworks on time. So we'll work on getting the homeworks out, and then on average, it takes class. All classes are recorded and they're posted, but it takes about 3 to 5 days for them to be processed. That's not our fault. Blame Zoom and how big our file size is. It just takes a long time to process it and post it. Um, so just bear in mind, like people would love to one day after be like, hey, where's the where's the video? And it takes a couple of days. So I just want you guys to know that it's not like we can instantly get you those recordings every time. Each week during main lecture at least, I'll try to incorporate a break. Usually the break will be like 2 to 5 minutes. And so feel free to so feel free to save your bathroom breaks for then. What's the demo course? Demo course is two lectures we recorded from the past, which we give to you as a chance to see what the course is like before you sign up. Well, you signed up is kind of a little bit late for that, so yeah. USABO is well beyond AP level. I actually just did an AP Bio review. I could legitimately teach every topic in AP Bio in like a day. Because it's so easy. I hate to say it, but AP Bio is like so easy. Like, and like I don't want to diss anyone who like struggles with AP Bio, but it is like not hard. And if you haven't taken it, good, because if you take this course and then you take it, it will be so easy. AP Chem is like a little hard. AP Bio is not hard. They've made AP Bio actually easier over the years, for some reason. Okay, a couple goals. So the main goal of this course, if you take especially level one, is for us to get everyone into semifinals. I know you might say, how come the goal of the course isn't to get everybody into finals? That's because we usually have more than 20 students and there's only 20 finalists. So like, no matter how hard we try, Like there just isn't a way for us to get 20 finalists. We would love to get 50 final, like all top 53 hour students or something. But that's up to you to make that happen. Every year some students end up being super locked out and not making it. So make sure that you are focused and that you try to learn your best, and we'll hopefully get everybody to semifinals at the minimum. And make sure you follow along, right? Uh, if you went to the webinar, I said this, but we have one of our alumni, And Wu. I don't know if you know him. He's from St. Louis. He's at MIT now and was a finalist in his freshman year. Famously said that this course is a lot like drinking from a fire hose or eating from an all-you-can-eat buffet, and it's up to you how much you eat from the all-you-can-eat buffet. And there's nothing stopping you from obviously, like don't like eat to the point that you're so stuffed you can't move and you can't finish your schoolwork. But like it's up to you how much house you're gonna put in. And are you gonna eat like the crab legs and the oysters, or are you just gonna spend the whole time like eating like fries at the buffet, right? Um. Hopefully we get a couple finalists. This year we had, I think, 10 technically, which is not bad. If any of them are in the chat, hopefully you guys get to meet all of them at camp. Um, I think uh I think it should be a fun time, and then hopefully we'll give you a strong background in biology and a passion for studying it because we really do love USABO, and we love biology here in this class. So yeah, and also one thing that we really love about this class is the community that we've built. There's so many supportive people, and they're so willing to help each other, and that's something that we really value about our course and our community. So I hope that you guys get to participate in that, and I hope you enjoy it. I mean, the course also has lots of other things that we offer besides just knowledge of biology. We have some of the funniest memes of all time. I mean, this was a should we also do have bow chess? Oh, this is a meme that shows we call it our yearbook photo. It shows several really funny jokes. If any of you who is new can identify like any of the scientists' jokes on here, I will give you a bow buck. A bow buck is our premium currency in the class. You can earn bow bucks by answering questions or saying funny or good comments. Um, and you can lose bow bucks by saying not funny comments. So you're just keep it in mind. You can redeem Bow Bucks for problem sets, and that's pretty much it. Um, I don't know. Maybe we should like make like another incentive for Bow Bucks, but yeah. Um, I want to just tell you one joke. So, this joke is one of my favorites. This is Ramachandran of the Ramachandran plot, and he has the psi and the phi on his arms because that's the rotational angles of the amino acids. So I thought the joke is really funny. It's very subtle. So yeah. There's also here's Joseph as a Giga Chad, and then here's Dwight D. Eisenhower with hair. Before people will say this is AI, it isn't. I photoshopped this myself, so just so you know. Um, okay, we do about bugs. It's not like recent open assignment. No, for the Bout bugs, it's like questions that we wrote in the past, and also people become friends in this class. Here's a picture of me and Joseph high-fiving over the Zoom virtual background. Here's me and some of the previous TAs and a student getting dinner in Boston. This is at a restaurant called Spring Shabu. Very cool. And then here's a picture of us on the Discord where we all changed our name to variations of the student and Wu. His name was Planet Me parentheses and Wu, and everyone sort of changed their name to be in that pattern, and no one knew who anyone was for several weeks. So it's kind of fun. We have a lot of stuff. Um, uh, and I think it's a really enjoyable time to be in this class. All right. Do you have any questions so far? Anyone have any questions before we move on to the next section of today's lecture? All right. So let's talk a little bit about the exam. I know not everyone here is equally like knowledgeable about the USABO. The USABO is the USA Biology Olympiad. It's like how to say this? It's kind of like the AMCs, but for like biology. It allows you to go through the process of eventually making it to the camp and then IBO. And so you get to learn a lot. And the course, every year a few thousand students take the exam. Um, yeah, the kerning on this logo is not great. It's like, yeah, anyway, the last thing I said about this, but the exam it happens in a couple rounds. But first, like our class generally does pretty well. So the first one of the exam is called the open exam, which everyone takes. So I've taken the liberty of included some the re self-reported scores from this year with the actual distribution of scores from the actual exam. As you can see, our mean score was a 32.3, which is substantially higher than the population average of 17. And you might be like, well, maybe that's because you have a lot of really high outliers. But as you can see from our standard deviation, actually, our standard deviation is actually lower or comparable to the standard deviation of the the standard deviation of our sample is comparable to the standard deviation of the main body, meaning that we actually have a representative distribution. It's just fully sampled from only the the rightmost portion of this diagram, which is really great. Our high score, what I believe was like a 40, like a 47. So it was really impressive what people managed to do this year. So we do well. Joseph, do you want to explain what these statistics mean and let the students know why our course is actually effective?
Yeah, so this is me trying to like model our population statistics. Basically, all you need to like you just need to pay attention to you see that like Mann-Whitney number. That's actually a very small number. It's very close to zero. So that means that our test takers that take the class have a significantly higher mean score compared to the average. That's all this graph is saying, but there's a lot of like kind of like funny numbers you can kind of look at if you're interested in that kind of stuff.
Do you want to explain the methodology here, Joseph?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how much I want to explain it, but essentially I'm just modeling the distribution as like I think a gamma binomial or something. And then I just like kind of fit it to both of the curves, one for the population population numbers, and then the one for the class average. And then if you just kind of do that, you can kind of like compare the two distributions, and then very clearly one of them is very higher than the other, right? So
Yeah, and for those who can't tell, the green is our class and the blue was the USABO population.
yeah, some people are saying McDonald's logo, and I think I'm starting to see it too.
Yeah, so you can see our class has been we have the statistics to show that it significantly improves student scores. Which I think 70 is pretty close to the whole class. So I just think that this is pretty, pretty good, like, pretty good numbers for us. And actually, our students do so well that it actually makes it really hard for us now to predict what the opens cutoff will be. Because we were trying to predict the opens cutoff, and not a single one of our models predicted a cutoff of lower than like 30. So we were like, maybe there was just like a really easy open exam this year, but actually our students are just too good. So it makes it impossible for us to predict cutoffs now. Which is I think it's like kind of a good problem to have. So like students who engage with our material just I think we've seen them do really well and we're very happy for them. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the test. So the first round of the USABO wasn't there the USABO and other companies like CBO and BBO? The difference is that the USABO is harder and it's from America, and the other two are from Canada and Britain, and they are much easier. Um, the knowledge is like comparable, but it's much harder to do USABO than the other ones. The others have to be good preparation. So yeah, the Canada one's also got the U Toronto Bio competition or something. So that's like the other name you can look for it under. Um, Yeah. Okay. So the open exam is about 50 minutes, 50 questions, and they focus on fundamentals and recall. Test quality in historic years have like not been super high. That's because there's will be like really funny key errors or like missing diagrams or missing answer choices. There's a very famous question that just said, consider the following. And then there's nothing, and it goes A, B, C, D, E, and that's it. Which may be the greatest question of all time. So like there's like always like issues with the exam, but like it's gotten the quality has been pretty good the past last year, and the USABO is under some new management, so we think the quality will continue to be high, at least for the next year. Um, once you've if you are top 500 on the open exam by invitation, you take the semifinal exam, which is 120 minutes. There's 50 multiple choice questions, which constitutes part A, 30 multiple true false questions, which constitutes part B, and a short answer portion, which is called part C. The point values on them are similar but not equal, with the most points, I believe, still being in part B or part C. And this is focused on application and figure reading and all those sort of questions that you see people will talk about endlessly in BODs, which is not a server you should join. Um, it's also prone to having hilarious errors, albeit in recent years it has been more prone to being so difficult that no one is sure if there's hilarious errors. So that's really like the challenge. Who uses Discord? The Discord is actually very widely used for our Discord, but you shouldn't use the bots Discord because they always leak stuff and you can get like banned from USABO if like they think you're cheating in there, which happens. So I would not join that server, and if you're in it, I would leave. Um, it's also just like there's nothing useful in there, so yeah. There's a couple. I know some of you are probably came from there, but yeah, someone raised their hand. I can't tell. No one tells me. If you have a question, please just put it in the chat. I don't really want you to like unmute and talk because it like makes it really difficult for us to like continue teaching. So just like put the question in the chat and I will answer you. Everybody uses Studoku now. Okay, thank you, Anirudh. We will investigate. Um, you can join any. You can join our server. You should join bods if you want to, but I just don't recommend it. A couple of things that we want to help you develop, and these are like skills that hopefully we get a chance to work on throughout the course of throughout this course is one is reading, right? The key thing about biology is that it remains a class where reading is really helpful. I know that seems like obvious, but some people clearly don't find that obvious because they don't read. And about understanding what you read. Who will be writing the homework? The homework will be written by Sunny Poon and Suzuko this time around, with potentially assistance from Jason. Potentially. There's no promises. Um, and then we want to also focus on what you get out of the reading, right? It's easy to just see words, but it's important to uh, but it's important to see what you're actually getting out of it. Additionally, you want to work on your speed and your pacing, right? Reading too fast is bad because you get nothing out of it, but reading too slow is bad because then you will never finish the material you have to get through. And on the actual exam, it's also important to be able to get through your material quickly and efficiently. This will allow you to this will allow you to uh, like answer questions without necessarily needing to read the huge chunks of text. Someone is talking about how hard the exam is. Most people who would be like top, I would say 50 in the US would be like number one or two in like most other countries. Like not including like China, India, Russia, Singapore, Japan, South Korea. Like outside of those, and like and Iran, I guess, yeah, and Iran. Although I've thought about Iran, I would say that like you would be at number one or two. Like almost certainly like I will guarantee that like if you are able to make like top 125 and you like move to like New Zealand, you will be like number one in that country. Um, I have a student of mine from a long time ago who was IBO for Canada. would not be able to like touch some like I don't think I was not sure genuinely if he could like make semis today at his level then. Genuinely unsure. So like that's kind of like the problem. Uh India has really long questions, and the India questions are really good, which is why they pick good teams, and like that's like an advantage of like being in India. So India actually writes really, really great questions. So if any of you want to practice on the Indian national biology exam questions, they're good. So that's something to keep in mind. There's a US IBO. No, China usually wins, or Singapore, but Singapore is banned. I think was banned until it was banned for a year because of a mild issue. Um, they did something that like you could argue was cheating. I don't think it was cheating personally, but like some people argue it's cheating. Japan does well, South Korea does well, India does well, but like um they're not as consistent as like the big three, China, US, Singapore. So, yeah. Okay, anyways, we also want to work on tricks, right? A lot of these questions can be solved easily and more quickly with tricks. I know some of you who are coming from the Math Olympiad world, um, will be like, oh, math. I don't really understand why people do Math Olympiads anymore, but like, there's always tricks to solving the questions, right? And that's kind of something we could do here. This question which you can answer more easily, or you can figure out like trick portions of the question that you have to identify. Another big aspect of tricks isn't tricks that you use, it's tricks that question writers will use to make your life hard. Um, and so you're gonna be able to identify those. We also want to build up your intuition. There's no point in trying to memorize tons of knowledge. I think we've seen this year that students who really focused and went all in on memorizing tons of stuff and pathways didn't do as well as those who focus on building up their reasoning skills. Because like intuition just like isn't something you can develop it like from like cramming. And it's really important that you work on your reasoning. And when I tell like stories, like not like stories about like my life or like things that happen, but stories about like biology, try to think about what the line of thinking is. Don't just like listen to be like, haha, FMO complex and move on. Yeah. Um, And then finally, on a test, some students have a really bad habit of they'll take the test, they'll start, they'll be like, let's go, and they'll hit one question they don't know, and then they will become tilted, right? They'll spend the entire time being like, but what was this thing? And then that like throws them off of the whole test. So it's important to like build up your resilience, and that comes from practicing and having confidence in your problem solving abilities, and remembering that mathematically, you like just don't have to answer every question correct to do well. So yeah. Um, all right. We're also going to sometime reference this idea of the USABO meta. The meta is like how you have to play the game of the game to win, right? USABO is a competition. So if you want to be better than others, you have to be able to play the game. You have to kind of know what is it that the examiners are looking for, what is it that the exam is looking for, and be able to respond to that. So as a result, there's certain books you should read, certain topics you should study. I know we all want to study for all of the tests all the time, but we only have 24 hours in a day. Do we know who's writing for 2026? I have a good idea, but I'll probably like I will talk about that like later on in the course, not like right now. Um, and so I think it's important to think about what you're studying. And I'm not, and again, and I know that maybe saying this is going to be inviting my least favorite question, which is, and do not ask this question. I'm telling you right now, if you ask me this question, I will crash out, and you will be like, I will yell at you. Um, do not ask me, do I have to know this? The answer is, or do I have to memorize this? The answer is no. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to memorize anything. Like you don't have to know your name for all I care. So don't ask me that. Like, if I'm teaching it to you, it means I think you should at least kind of know it. If I say you don't have to know this, then you don't have to know it. But like, but yeah, I am crashing out in advance. I'm sort of doing a pre-crash out to let you guys know that like, do not ask me that. I will crash out. Um, Additionally, please make sure that when we tell you this is the effective, that doesn't mean that it's the only thing you should do. You should always do what you find enjoyable and focus on that. Um, Thank you, Aiden. I focus on uh getting as much knowledge as possible, right? Like, many people make camp not doing the optimal thing. Working hard or working consistently is way more important than working necessarily optimally. All right. So let's talk about how to study for the USABO. This is a question I get all the time, which is, Kevin, how do you study? How do I study? How do I read? And like you guys will know that like at some point I like can just only answer this so many times. So I'm gonna answer this once now. And if you guys and if you guys need, I can I can sort of like I can ask you guys to watch the recording, right? Because the recording exists. The other thing is, please don't ask me to repeat what I just said. There is a recording. You can go back and watch it. I will not be repeating what I just said. I will do it on occasion, especially if you are like a most favored student. But if you are not a most favored student, you may not actually like get. I will just say watch the recording. Um, who's most favorite? Well, we'll find out. We'll find out who's most favorite. I mean, it depends on who tells the funniest jokes. Um, I'm pretty sure I've crashed out at the deep. I will say this, like if I crash out, it's not personal. It's never personal. At some point it might get personal, but it is never personal. Okay? Um, okay, it might be a little personal, but like just simply don't piss me off and then you'll be fine. I'm very nice. I'm a super nice person. Everyone agrees. Everyone says I'm the nicest person they know. Who's Yuva? Yuva was a student from last semester who like would rage bait me like every week and then I would crash out. Yeah. Oh my God, you know Evan Wang? Crab Evan from Seattle? Oh my God, tell him I say hello. He is one of our most favorite students. Um his name was Evan, but he was in a semester of the class where we had like 4 or 5 Evans. So every Evan got a nickname. Because there were too many Evans. So yeah. You are not only the sixth Evan, you are the second Evan Wong in the class. So that's like crazy. Okay. All right. That was on study tips. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna say is studying for USABO is just really critically the studying is reading, right? I know you can like be like, but I hate reading. Then, like I don't know. Then this may not be a great like value match. Um, if you like want to do well in the USABO, you have to read. And you might be like, but didn't you just say that memorizing isn't important? I did say that, but I also think that if you read, it helps you develop your intuition. You also do like have to know stuff. It's not like you don't have to know anything. Um, Applications are important, but you have to know stuff to be able to apply them. So it's important that you are able to read. And I will say this, my first piece of advice to you is there's a lot of readings for this course and for USABO in general. I used to offer advanced readings, but I stopped offering them because like people just can't keep up with the normal readings. So like I like don't want to share those because if you aren't reading my normal readings, then like why would you move on to like the more advanced ones, right? So I recommend that you stick to like the readings that I give you first. You might be like, but I already read Campbell's, and I know it pretty well. If you know Campbell's like inside and out, then you should make semifinals easily, if not finals. Campbell Biology is far and away the most important book for this exam. And if you know that book, very thoroughly, you will have no issue doing well on the exam. I recommend reading the book multiple times. Everyone's like, but I read it once, or oh, I actually read it 2 times. Okay, all right. Someone remove Evan Wan from the room. Um, yeah, no, I will take none of that. Uh, we have no mercy. Um, so, uh, so yeah. Um, so I recommend reading the book multiple times. I personally read the book 10 times in high school. It wasn't over like 1 year. Um, it was like so I would read like 3 or 4 times this year if you want to try to make camp or top 50. I will also say that like making top 50 nowadays is like basically indistinguishable in difficulty from making like the bottom end of top 20. So like you basically have to be aiming for top 20 to make top 50. That's what I'm telling you guys. Wait, genuinely, Angela, that may sound crazy. That's genuinely what people do, and that's genuinely what I did for my first like 5 or 6 read throughs of the book. I'll just finish it and be like, I don't think I got everything. I'll just read it again. And I would just do that. Um, so it's the book is actually really good. Um, I wouldn't speedrun the book on your first read through, but like some people just read fast, and I totally get that. I'm one of those people. So it's okay if you want to read quickly, but I would read it to try to get more out of it. And note that you don't have to read it 10 times. Joseph, for example, only read the book like I think like 3 times, but he also took like really careful notes. When I took zero notes, I would just like read every day like during class. Um, well, for the Hunger Games, just imagine like Katniss Evergreen is like a cell, and what's her boyfriend's name? Pita Bread is like a bacteriophage, and he's dogging on her. I don't know how to help you with that. I've never read Hunger Games. The only thing I know about the Hunger Games is that they came out with this is the song Are you coming to the tree? That's the only thing I know about like that series because they play that song on the radio so much. So anyways, um I remember because when I was like in high school and I heard that song, I thought the lyrics was "Are you coming home to pee?" And I was like, "What? Why is this a lyric in like this movie?" And that was very confusing. Um, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Song lyrics are very difficult. Okay, so you have to read, and I recommend reading before each class, right? So if you're going to do that, what I would say is you should attempt to do your readings in a fixed amount of time. That means that you shouldn't. It's not like, oh no, I can't finish in 3 hours, so I give up. No, it means that you should set aside time to read, right? What I recommend is instead of every day like being like, I will read and study after my homework. There is like a really lovely quote that I like to tell students, which is that work is like a gas. It expands to fill the volume of time allotted to it, right? If you're like, oh, I have this essay that's due tomorrow, and I'm gonna start it at like 7, you're gonna be working on it till your bedtime, right? And I think that like sometimes under like limited time, under pressure, you can actually produce the same or similar quality of work just as quickly. So what I always recommend students do is when they get home from school, instead of like getting home from school and being like, yep, time for my 3 hour Instagram scroll, right? Instead of doing that, set aside like an hour or 2 hours to read before you start. And that will give you a ample opportunity to read when you are most fresh. And then later, if you have to bang out that like history worksheet or whatever, that's not going to be too challenging because you can just do that when turn your brain off and then use your, highest quality brain power for reading. The other thing is just a piece of advice from not one of my students, but a camper who I know very well, Carolina Kusumunamagara. Her last name is very long, so I I don't know how to say it. Um, uh, from uh from Seven Lakes, she said, to read between classes or in classes whenever you have time. Good, Ars, did you do that? Um, I remember I would read in every one of my classes where I was allowed to do it. So all my science classes and like my French class because like I did well in those classes. Um, I remember, and in my class where I wasn't, I would take out a notebook and instead of writing notes, I would write fan fiction. I mean, that's just what I did, and so that's how I got time to read. I would wake up every day at 5 a.m. To read like Campbell's because I just loved that book so much. Did I bring the textbook to school? I did bring the textbook to school. Jade, yeah, Jaden, please wear headphones for this class. It's kind of like it's kind of important. It helps the audio quality a lot. Wait, I low-key think that like in high school, I wasn't I was still fat, right? But like I think low-key I might have been like hella strong because I used to carry like 5 or 6 books in my backpack all the time. Um, so yeah. Um, any tips that you read Campbell's in class? I would say something to the effect of like it having this book open helps me stay awake and focus. It's like a focus aid. Um, because most teachers don't like it if you tell them like actually I really gotta lock in for like this like Olympiad and like your class is low key not that important. Which is like the truth because like let's be honest, not every class is that important. But like you don't want to have that mentality, right? So just something to keep in mind. Yeah. Don't make teachers hate you. There's no point. Yeah. Uh, some people also just like read it on their iPad where they also take notes. So like it's like easy. I don't know personally. I don't hate teachers. I am a teacher. I'm really torn on this because I have some kids in my class who like want to do like math, and I'm like, ew. So then I have good grades. I have good grades. Wait, because like low-key high school is like easy. Like I don't want to like be rude, but like high school is like not that hard. Like yes, math is hard. I had a hard time in math. That's the one class that was like the if I was good at math, I would have been like like IBO platinum. I swear, no, I'm just kidding. But I went to a high school called Troy High School, which is also where Joseph went. I did go to Troy. Yeah. Um, so it wasn't that bad. Math is hard for me. I lean transferred. Did I do IB? I did not do IB. I double scienced instead. Uh Troy at the GOAT SciOly High School, 2 national champ titles, baby. No, I think it's fun. Have a choice, don't go to Troy. I like think that that's like a good piece of advice in general. Troy in this year's SciOly season is undefeated. Like they haven't lost the tournament. So like we'll see if they win Nats. Because if they win Nats, they will have pulled off a perfect season. Which is like not something that they like it's not something they've done in the past. Am I coming Nats? I am coming to Nats. I just bought my tickets. Um if you're the best Howling Nats, I'll see you all there. For that week, I need someone to sub for me. So maybe we'll see if like one of the other staff will do it. Um, okay, all right. Sure, but like Prisms is not near NYC, so like yeah. I don't think Monty is. I think Troy's winning. I'm not gonna lie. Troy is like they've looked really good this season. Anyway, I can talk about Sally ad nauseum. Let's continue talking about how to do well. When you actually take the test, I will say this, like, trust your gut, like, trust, like, what you, think the right answer is going to be. And, like, think like a writer. The writers will, try to trick you. I think about how they, will set that up. And then finally, also make sure you do a lot of practice exams to work on those skills. And we'll work on them in class at problem solving now. When you're studying for the exam, have negative marking? No, there's no negative marking. When you're studying for the exam, some people might, another question I get asked really often is like, should I take notes? And my question is like, I don't know you. I don't, you figure that out for yourself. Um, so if you like, if notes work for you, then take notes. I never took notes. Some students, oh hi Jason. Some students really like to take notes in my class, some don't. So it really depends. Should you read Campbell's in bed? I mean, I don't see why not. Uh, like it's isn't that hard. All right, and then I'm gonna go to this slide. I'll explain it after the break, but let's take a really quick 5 minute break so that people can use the bathroom and get stuff ready. And then we'll be right back. I'm gonna pause the recording, and I'm going to go down and use the restroom, and then and yeah. All right, we're back. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. This is like a rough outline of what I think the tier list is. I would personally never, for the sake of USABO, read a book in the C tier. Anything below B tier, I like. If you're like, I'm doing this for USABO, I wouldn't do it. If you're like, oh, Kevin, I love development, then like maybe you can read Gilbert's. Although there's maybe an argument for Gilbert being B tier. I like don't actually think Gilbert is that bad of a book. Um, like, yeah, I would just not go below B tier. I would only go below B tier if you are like, I am feeling burnt out by bio. And like, I really need to read something I enjoy. And like, my favorite topic is neuro, or my favorite topic is ecology, right? So yeah, so obviously the book is this one, and then is Campbell's, and then I would say that like Mbach is maybe not A tier. I predicted Mbach being really good last year, but it actually I think ended up being just okay. So yeah. Um Is Wiley's. Wiley's is fine. All the AMP books are basically the same. There's only two good. Well, okay, there's two canonical physio books, and then there is Costanzo's. Costanzo's is possibly the greatest book ever written, according to Jonah. But no one I know has read it but Jonah. But Jonah is also the greatest to ever do it in anatomy and physiology. So it's like difficult for me to say. Um, Evan, -5 bow bucks for asking a dumb question. Um, so yeah. Uh, Anyways, okay. All right. Michelle is returning for case study. All right, let's talk about what science. Okay, let's move on to actual content. If you guys have other questions, another day we can talk about this. Uh, MIT is returning for MIT frat hopping. No, Suzuku's doing problem solving, Anish. So yeah. So today we're talking about science and how science is done. This should be a pretty quick lecture. I'm hoping to not have to go over time today, so let's try to be um let's try to be efficient. Okay. So what is science? So science is the like art of understanding knowledge through experimental it is true, Jason. That is the main reason why I don't go overtime. Is the use of experimental knowledge in order to understand the universe and the world that we live in. Uh, okay, someone asked. Okay. So someone else can take care of the Q&A for me. I'm not answering the Q&A questions unless they're if they're really good. Joseph, put them in the chat. Um, So this is a scientific method, and they used to test this, but like they really don't anymore. If you like don't understand what this is, like make sure you brush up on it. Um, but what I would say is like the key thing here is that you form hypotheses, and hypotheses are only good if you are only useful if they are testable and falsifiable, right? Um, Slides will be posted semi-consistently after lecture. They will always eventually be posted. So, like a hypothesis like God is real is maybe not very testable, right? Because that just isn't going to. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not testable under science, right? But then if you die, you also can't send the information back. So that's the problem. You need to have a way to falsify your hypothesis. And I think that if you're religious, there isn't a way to falsify the existence of God. Um, so yeah. And so as a result, it's not scientific. But a hypothesis like, I don't know, my mom's hair is made of butter is falsifiable because you could say, well, butter has certain properties, and if I test my mom's hair and it has the properties, then it's not butter, right? Maybe butter dissolves in oil, and if you put your mom's hair in oil, maybe it doesn't dissolve, and you're like, ah, my mom's hair is not butter, so it has to be falsifiable. Now, statements that are true can still be falsifiable, right? You can say, oh, I think the sky is blue. Um, and you can falsify it by sort of pointing out, oh, maybe you're wearing blue tinted contact lenses the whole time and you didn't know it, so it's actually white, right? So there's always these possibilities. All right. Um, Science, generally speaking, works off deductive reasoning, where you have a theory for how the world works. And then you use hypotheses to test your observations, and you observe them and you confirm in order to understand how the world works. We use induction very rarely. This is mostly used in things like music, but really in science we focus on deduction. Like Jason mentioned, this isn't really tested anymore. There isn't like the room for these questions. So just like make sure that you are so make sure you know it for the sake of understanding why we talk about some of the stuff later, but it's not something you really have to like know for USABO like, to like any rigorous extent. Ah, shoot. Oh, sorry about that. Um, okay. So let's talk about experimental design. When you're looking at an experiment, the key thing you want to do is to trying to figure out like what the experiment is aiming to do. And on a usable exam, really all you have to do is figure out what the experiment or what the setup is doing, and then figuring out what that's then asking you. You're not trying to understand exactly how it's done or what is the like complete and like total solution to like a problem that they're facing. It's just understanding enough to answer a question. Okay, so um Jason, that was like the most bizarre way to say that this course follows the same order as Campbell's. Um, why would you do this? Why would you do this? What's wrong with you? I hope you enjoy. I hope you get hired by a quant company and you work there forever. I'm hitting you with the darkest curse of all time. Um, okay. Uh, okay, all right. That's what you think. So uh when we do science, like it's important that we have both positive and negative controls. I'm gonna say this, half the diagrams in half the diagrams in Campbell's, like not Campbell's in USABO are only hard because it's difficult to tell why and what the groups are. But once you understand, now that's a thought, Evan. Once you understand like what controls are and why we have them in science, it can actually become really easy to figure out exactly what's happening. So first, for example, let's say I'm running a gel. This is a Western blot. Joseph is really familiar. He ran like 1 million Western blots in undergrad for his like lab. And what you have to do when you run any Western is you have to first you want to run your sample, right? This is the target. And then what you want to do is you always want to run a positive control and a negative control. A negative control is basically you run nothing. Um, you want to just test that, like, in the absence of the thing, it's possible to get a negative result, right? Let's say you are like, okay, I have a good example for this. Okay, in the medieval times during witch hunts, they would be like, ah, if you stab a witch, they don't bleed. So bleeding equals like witch, but there isn't a single person on earth whom if you stab, there is no bleeding. So like You like there isn't like a way to test for this. There's no negative control. To say that you also no positive control because there isn't any known witches. So like there just isn't anything you can do. Um, you also have to run a positive control, which means that you wait, yes, but many people believe that if you stab the witch, they like don't like that like sorry. It's kind of complicated. Like if you stab a witch, they don't bleed, but they will stab them. Wait, no. If you stab a witch, they do bleed. The issue is people also bleed when stabbed, so it doesn't actually solve anything. Um, I don't know what Severocupia is, unfortunately, Drew. You've gotten me there. Too much ball knowledge for me. Mm. Um, um, yeah. What would be the negative control? I don't know. Someone who always bleeds. I don't know. But anyways, um, when you look at the positive control, it has to show the result, right? So maybe here trying to test whether or not this protein can be isolated, and what you do is you run a sample of already isolated of a different protein or a similar protein to show you can actually get the result. Because otherwise you don't know if your like data is the product of maybe there's an error. If the positive result shows up negative, that means that your probe or your detection doesn't work. And if the negative shows up wrong, that means one of your controls is broken. That means that you have like some step in the way where you're making the thing and you're actually getting the result. So there's a many different ways to look at this. It can often be really difficult to find both, but so many experiments, you'll see like a column and be like, I don't know what this is for. It's just a positive or a negative control. If it isn't a positive negative control, you're just comparing two of the groups. And that's all you're doing in the vast majority of diagrams on the USABO. When you read any paper, the portion that people oftentimes skip is data and methods. And what I'm going to say is like, if you're trying to read a paper to like learn or like better study for USABO, never read this. Only read this part if you like are actually interested in like the nitty-gritty of what they did. Usually, all you care about is the result, and not actually how they get there. Negative control is you guarantee a negative response, right? And then positive control is you guarantee a positive response. Excuse me. I would look at the figures that are relevant here, but I would almost never look at the I would almost never look at the data and methods in terms of the text. Um, You usually have to collect data several times. That can increase the significance of your result, which is what we look for in science, because you can get something that's true by random chance. Imagine, for example, you have a friend and she calls herself Lucy the Lucky. All right. And Lucy is like, every time I flip two coins, they both come up heads. And you're like, okay. And so she flips two coins. And then you get uh and then you get two heads. You're like, oh, maybe she is lucky. But you gotta be like, do it again. It could just be luck. You gotta make Lucy the Lucky do the coins 1,000 times, okay? And you might be like, okay, does 1,000 times. Let's say Lucy the Lucky flips two coins 1,000 times, and she gets double heads 300 times. Now, certainly she isn't getting it every time, but is she luckier than normal? And we can perform a chi-squared test to test whether or not that's true. And that result gives us the significance. It gives us a p-value, which tells us how likely it is for this to happen due to random chance. Does that make sense? Oh, sorry. I mentioned binary versus float data. Binary data is yes, no. Is it bigger? Is it smaller? Is it present? Is it not present? Right? Meanwhile, float data is a number, like an integer, or like a de or like a sorry, a float is like a decimal, right? Oh, there's 3.5 times more protein here than somewhere else. Almost all data on the usable, yeah, I misspoke. No, my brain actually, my brain does run in Java. That's why it's so slow. So when you look at most experiments, you end up only testing for whether or not something happened or it didn't. So as a result, when you test, you're just looking for a positive or a negative. Even numbers that are floats usually get translated into binary data. Oh, wasn't more than a threshold we've imposed, right? So that's what I'm trying to convey. Sorry if it's not clear. Um, C++ has got to be like one of the funnier languages. I had a friend who in college who had a friend who like always asked him for code, and he like got really annoyed about it. So he's like, "Don't copy my code because it's gonna get us both in trouble." So he wrote a piece of code where if his fan ran it, it would write over its own block of memory and delete itself. Um, so that his friend couldn't just copy his code and like run it, which is very funny. Um. Yeah. Okay. Um, one thing is like if you ever read a paper and you see them like dump you with like a big data table, that's like really bad. Many papers will have big data tables, but usually they go into the supplemental material or the submat because it like doesn't it's unreadable. You want your data to like be like readable and like interpretable. So that's why data visualization is so key. You what you really want to do is you want to be able to just like look at it and quickly and instantly get an idea as to what this looks like. And the thing is, like, most figures are made in one of four programs, and they all have their drawbacks. The four programs are R, and I say R, but what I mean is like really it's like R or Python. They both have package making figures. They're about equally common. Photoshop is popular with people who make really beautiful figures. Office, like PowerPoint is another place people make them, and then Figma. I personally never used Figma. So yeah, people don't really latex figures, Evan, as far as I know. BioRender is unfortunately very unpopular because BioRender is proprietary, so your journal editors can't edit your figures. So many journals will not take biorender figures. If you give them biorender figures, they would rather redo your figure in-house, which like sometimes leads to issues. So biorender is fine if you're like making something for your poster, but not for submission. And generally speaking, many journals now want to see your code for generating your figure. So R and Python are becoming increasingly common. I don't know anyone who uses MS Paint to currently make figures, but perhaps I will be wrong one day. This is a figure that I saw on Twitter about like different kinds of figures. I personally actually like really dislike this because many of these are really bad and I would just not. Oh, you're not making figures, Chelsea. I'm just talking about how figures are made. A lot of what I'm going to talk about is going to be like adjacent related to USABO, but not like directly. Because like understanding where the figures are coming from will help some students like understand better how to interpret them. And the whole thing is we want to understand where things are coming from. A cyclical area chart is just a bad version of a PCA plot. I don't know. I would never use any of like I would never use this one or this one personally. Um so yeah. Uh yeah, the size of the bubble can still variable. The issue with the bubble chart is like have you guys ever seen like the electoral maps that show you like how big a population is? They're like unreadable at some point. One example of this is you can show like temperature over like every month. But I don't personally think that that's like super useful. Um, Look, most of these are not okay. Wait, I've used I've used this one before. Um, I've used the table with embedded charts because like okay, I wanted to show it was I'll give you an example, okay? I was trying to show a result where I'm like, okay, we did treatment A with population A to get this result. And then we did treatment B with population B and to get this result. And then we did treatment B population A and got this result. And so we did a table with like smaller charts in it. But like I don't think you'll see that on the usable. On the usable, the vast majority of diagrams you will see are going to be scatter plots, histograms. And that's it. That's pretty much all the plots you will see. And a histogram is far and away the most common. I apologize. This diagram is really fried. If anyone can find me a higher res version of this, I will replace it. Um, so, uh, yeah. So a histogram basically on the x-axis, you have bins of data, okay? And the bins are like ranges, right? If you remember, if we go back to what I had before, one second, you see that like each bin is a range of scores, and it tells you how many people um scored in that range. This usable binning is like maybe a little bit odd, but it seems like these two scores are just like weirdly super frequent, which is like mildly odd. I don't know. I would like look into that. That's like that seems statistically anomalous. Um uh, like one possibility is that there were like maybe like 17 hard questions or something, but I think that that seems unlikely. I'm not exactly sure what's like happening over here. Um, but like this, each bin shows you something, and then the y-axis tells you the frequency of data that falls into that. Just email it to me. Um, we do have a Baobug leaderboard. One about Jason and Aaron, if you send me the diagram, I'll give you one Baobug each. Um, yeah. Uh, so wait, I don't. This is 2026. This is no longer Sawtoothed. Like. I don't think I included a Sawtooth version this year. So you can take a look at some of these. These are all histograms. Histograms don't always show the nice normal curve because not all data is normally distributed in real life. Although you can technically manipulate every data set to be normal if you wanted. I like to an extent. What does sawtooth mean? Sawtooth is where the like every other column bin of the histogram is bigger than the other, and that can happen because uh like odd data is less likely to happen than even data or something like that. So it can happen, or like your bins are just not even in size can also happen. Like if you don't, yeah. One of the cuts off each other. Don't worry about why. The main idea is they're counting up cells, and these three structures are located close to each other, and they're showing you where you find certain quantities of like certain cells with this quantity of amyloid plaques in that particular section. I wouldn't worry about these specific diagrams, but just an example of what histograms could look like. It's showing you the distribution of these plaques, and these are logarithmic scaled, right? Um, so this is something to keep in mind. And these logarithmic scales are somewhat common when you're dealing with flow cytometry data. Flow cytometry is where you take cells and you pass them through a laser that reads their size or their DNA content or their amount of fluorescent protein. Uh, uh, Flow data is log scaled because fluorescence is log scaled since light diminishes on a squared quantity by based on the amount of luminous molecules. Um, so what you can see here is you can see that you in first of all you want to gate your data. You pick certain cells to include and certain cells not to include, and then afterwards you can read their fluorescent intensity and then how common they are. Right. So at a certain intensity, they will come out at a certain count, and then you put them into these bins. And by doing this, it allows you to see how many cells have a certain amount of protein or a certain amount of DNA or labeled RNA, and that's what you do. Yeah, forward is size. I wouldn't worry about what specific this is saying. Business methodology, you gate off your data. You're like, this is data I want to keep, and then that's data you throw out because some cells are dead. Sometimes cells are stuck together, and you want to remove that data from your sample size because you don't want to be looking at dead cells, right? Because nothing is going on with them. Another common example of a histogram is a Manhattan plot. It's a dot histogram, where basically you sort of show how likely these certain locations on each chromosome are to be affiliated with a particular phenotype. And when you look at that, you can sort of see that some are going to be really high, and these are good candidate genes um, for screening for your disease or whatever trait you're looking for. A really visually stunning version of this is the joy plot, which is when you plot a ton of histograms together. Albeit this is not, I think, like a super great example of a histogram because it's almost a line plot, I think. But you can see that each particular like line is a histogram bin for times when you're doing certain activities. It's showing that people tend to not do aerobics in the middle of the day, and people tend to dance and play billiards like later in the evening, right? Which I think is pretty interesting. It looks like Virginia, like not really. Okay. The next kind of graph we have is a scatter plot. A scatter plot, basically, what you do is you just have you usually have two numerical slash quantitative metrics, one on each axis. The y-axis is usually your dependent variable. But sometimes you can do two dependent variables or try to find correlations. When you do that, you can compress them to what's called a PCA. If Jos maybe Jason should probably talk about what a PCA is because frankly, he probably explained it better than me. Um, assuming he's still here. It's also giving cytometer. They are reminiscent of a hemocytometer, but I don't think that they actually are. Damn, I think Jason left. So unfortunately, you guys will hear. Yeah, PCAs are just dimensionality reduction. So in this, you basically plot two diagrams. And sometimes you have too many diagrams to plot. Cytometers are devices for counting cells. But they also have like you just basically see cells like these like translucent circles. So that's why I think they're reminiscent. You can count more than blood cells. You can count any cell type actually. Like they are for counting blood cells, but they can be used for anything. Um, a PCA is called a principal component analysis. It's when you collapse several different components because you may be looking at like 1,000 variables for cancer cells and association with various factors, but that doesn't actually tell you what causes cancer. So instead, what you do is you collapse them by using something called dimensionality reduction, and to create these like areas where you see, okay, this group forms a cluster, and this group forms a cluster, and you can look at these clusters to better understand how they're related. You might get some of these, but they are not common on the USABO as something to test on because they're so complicated to explain. Um, they oftentimes just have like a lot of stuff going on. So usually I just said this is not do people not listen to what I sorry. I'm not crashing out today. This is really rare to be on the exam. When it is on the exam, usually you just have to say like, okay, this group is clustered, and you say, how is this cluster group related? Or hypothesize or speculate as to how they're related is usually what the task is. Okay? All right. Next, we have the box and whisker plot. The box and whisker plot is kind of like a histogram, but it really just shows you where data is located along a range and how that distribution is, right? It's like a slightly more refined histogram where what we're interested in isn't necessarily just frequency, but how that data is distributed. Usually in a box and whisker, you plot the median and then two quartiles, and then uh, you often actually don't use a maximum and minimum. What I would plot here is I would plot 150% of the interquartile range, or I would plot 75% of max and min. And then there's usually outliers at the tips. By doing it, it can show you kind of how the data is shaped because sometimes I'm interested not in how exactly the each bin is, but in where the distributions are. You can make a more fancy. Wow, this one also is really fried. I don't know what's up with my. I feel like I'm losing resolution. Uh, sometimes you end up with this what's called a violin plot, which can show you sort of exactly where it looks. These are just basically two stacked. uh, histogram on top of each other that shows you the exact distribution of your data. This is similar to a pyramid. I think a stingray is a good example. It's just like if you look at it on the side, right? It is really just two it really is just two histograms sort of stacked on top of each other. All right. Outliers are any data point which is we usually define as like over that 1 to 50% of the interquartile range. Some people will do it as like more than 200% the mean, but that's not always good. Um, like there's like different ways to determine outliers. Um, thank you, Jason. Um, It shows you exactly how the data is distributed across the range of values, right? If you stack several violin plots, it combines the best aspects of like a bar graph or a violin plot. Drew, if you have to know this before class, then why am I teaching it? Am I supposed to teach a class where you know all the stuff and I just say it again? Is that what you think this class is going to be? Sorry. Sorry. I'm trying really hard to not crash out. I'm so sorry. I am trying really hard to be nice. You should know what you know and come in with like a open-minded like learning mentality. All right, that's all I ask for. Um, I mean, I feel like I learned all of this stuff in like fourth grade. I feel like I learned it in elementary school or like middle school and like math. Like this is like not. I mean, maybe some of in middle school, but like I feel like this is stuff that like you learn in middle school. Wait, am I wrong? Like, do you not learn this in middle school? Okay, well, I don't know what your middle school is doing, but I learned this in middle school, so yeah. Uh, well, I don't know what to tell you then. I assume you've had like a normal education. So sorry, Texans. Okay. Um, I normally would end the lecture here, but like lecture one's low-key kind of short. I want to leave you with one of my favorite quotes about biology from one of my favorite scientists who was recently exposed as like an incredible racist. So, whatever. We move on. Humanity is exalted not because we are so far above other living creatures, but because knowing them well elevates the very concept of life. So yeah. Um, I don't think he goes to E.O. Wilson. I think he goes to a different person's school. Like it has nothing to do with like E.O. Wilson. Okay. All right. We're gonna just move on to like chapter two so we get a little bit ahead because usually like we fall behind in later chapters. So I want to start by talking about water. Water is the molecule of life, and there's a good reason for that. Um, all living things are basically aqueous bags of chemical reactions that are occurring in equilibrium, right? They occur at a given rate, and that's what causes you to be able to, isn't that chapter three? Yeah, but like chapter one and two are not particularly hard. I don't know. Do you guys need me to teach you guys like chapter like two stuff? Okay, I'll teach chapter two like next week. For this week, let's end today with you know what? Well, whatever. I will not talk about water. Instead, I will end today's lecture with a Q&A so people can ask me questions because people really want to I think people really want to ask me questions. All right? Does that seem reasonable to people? Oh my God, people are so divided on this. Okay, who wants a Q? Okay. Oh my God. Okay, we'll do a poll. We don't have enough time. If we do a poll, like there won't be um okay. Uh pick true if you want water and false if you want Q&A. Yeah, do the poll. Okay, I'll give you 5 more seconds for the poll. Five, four, three, two, one. We will definitely do water later. There's no way we don't do water. All right, since the people really okay, people seem to prefer the water to the Q&A, so we're gonna do water. Um, all right. So water is the molecule of life, which allows you to better be able to because almost all life occurs in aqueous reactions, and there is a good reason for that. Water, as you guys may know, is a polar molecule characterized by its presence of strong hydrogen bonds. The presence of these hydrogen bonds gives it some unique emergent properties. While a single molecule of water doesn't have these properties, the collection of many molecules of water actually does. And these emergent properties are one, not only particularly I was gonna have to cover both tonight anyway, Jaden. Are not only important to life. It also is in like a kind of a fun way reflective of life, since life itself is an emergent property of the molecules which make up living things, right? At some point, if you slice up your living things into small enough pieces, they stop being alive. And you, as someone might be like, even if you cut a sponge to one cell, they are able. Okay, stop. Like that. If you cut it down, like molecules, obviously, will no longer be alive. And water in this way has many emergent properties. One, water has a really high surface tension. This also enables water to have high cohesion and adhesion, but what it means is that living things are subject to its forces. Have you guys ever seen like a bee stuck in like a pond or like a bird bath? That's because when the bee breaks through the water, they no longer have enough energy to break out of the surface tension, so they become trapped underneath the water. Right? If you have ever, Has anyone here swim competitively? Um, if you've ever watched like people who swim, right, like really good, like Olympic swimmers or like champion swimmers, when they kick off the wall, right, you see that their heads are like under the water, but they kick underneath the water, but they don't break the actual water. That's because the surface tension holds the water together, and by being underneath it, the energy of their kicks goes entirely towards pushing them forward, as opposed to breaking the surface of the water, which would expend a lot of that energy. And actually, that energy can be pretty significant, which is why some of I don't know. I watched a video about this a long time ago. There's something called like short distance sprint swimming, which is people who like swim like really short distances. Like they don't swim like 4 laps, they swim like 1 lap or something, right? And like some of the best strategy for that is to start in the water, underwater, and then kick off and just stay underneath the whole time and never come up. Um, like I didn't believe that strategy would work. Um, Wait, like you can only go 15 meters per lap. I think this is like a different sport than like actual competitive like swimming, which is like which is like why. Um, it's like a different sport. It's like sprint swimming, I think they call it, because like you don't breathe either. Um, but anyways, uh, yes, I do think moths are cute. Butterflies are not scary. So the surface tension, one good illustration of it is the basilisk lizard, which runs across the water with its large legs covered in hydrophobic scales that lets it walk on the water. Additionally, what I will say is like organisms, depending on size, suffer from what's called the gravity versus surface tension trade-off. So there's been like a meme on the internet that I see occasionally, which is like, did you guys know that ants take no fall damage? Which is like kind of true. No matter how much of a height you drop a bisolin, you drop an ant from, it won't like splatter on like the sidewalk. That's because the ant is so light that it reaches a low enough terminal velocity when falling that it doesn't actually get injured upon landing. However, animals that are that small also do not produce enough force to break surface tension. So when they go underwater, they are unable to escape. All right. If you drop your ant from space, will it die? Like, what's the gravity source, Aaron? Like, I'm pretty sure if you drop it from space, the ant will just float because, like, there's no, that's you're too far from gravity. Yeah, but like not enough, right? And eventually it'll enter the atmosphere and like it'll just be normal again. And an ant would explode in a vacuum. So, there's like too many issues with this hypothetical. Um, the other property which hydrogen bonds give to water is its high specific heat. In order to increase, okay, who here has ever like walked through like a crowded room? You might have noticed that it's harder to walk through a crowded room than it is than it is to walk through run through like a totally empty room, right? And so if you are in a crowded room, that's because there's a lot of other molecules to jostle against. Now imagine if you were holding hands with all the people in that room. That'll make it even harder to move quickly. Similarly, temperature is simply a measurement of the average speed of the molecules inside of a particular compound. So as a result, because all the molecules in water are linked together by hydrogen bonds, it takes a lot of energy to actually make them move any faster on average, right? Because they're all holding hands. Yeah, it's 1.18 for like I'm pretty sure it's joules per gram. Oh, sorry. Yeah, joules per Kelvin per gram is correct. Sorry, I went for some reason I read that as like kilojoules per gram. Yeah, joules per gram Kelvin. Uh, a calorie is the same measure. It's just like a different way to say it, basically. Um, like 1 calorie is equal to 4.14 joules per gram Kelvin or gram Celsius. So yeah. Um, and that allows water to serve as a moderating force. You may notice in this diagram, coastal cities like Los Angeles are much cooler than inland cities like Riverside, even though the distance is not dramatically huge, nor is there a big change in latitude or longitude. That's because the body of water located close to the city moderates the temperature. All right. Um, this proper this property of water allows for there to be temperate environments anywhere where there is a body of water, meaning that even lakes help to reduce the extremes of temperatures in areas. The this also allows humans to undergo a process called evaporative cooling. Now, you might think, why do we sweat? I personally hate sweating, as you could tell from my figure. Because sweating is gross and it covers you in this wet, sticky substance. But the reason why you sweat is because when you are too warm, the fastest moving molecules of water, which have the most energy, are the most likely to leave and enter the air as evaporation. So it slowly strips heat energy away from your skin, right? Think about when like a cool breeze blows on you when you are wet or covered in sweat. You'll feel the coolness as the warmest molecules of water are wicked away, right? And so that's the whole idea. If water had a lower specific heat, it would not be as effective as doing this. I don't know why you're always wet, Gavin. So these are many of the properties of water. Finally, the stability given by the chat is not included in the recording. For anyone who's wondering, the stability of the hydrogen bonds means that you actually end up forming the densest water at 4 degrees Celsius, which means that ice at 0 degrees Celsius is actually light enough to float on top of the water. This means that water freezes over first, and this layer of ice actually insulates the water below from even colder temperatures. If it was the other way around, the ice would sink and the oceans would slowly freeze from the bottom up, killing all living things on Earth. And it's these properties of water that make it so important for life. but those alone is are not everything. Additionally, water also serves as the universal solvent. It's able to dissolve almost anything because the positive and the negative ends means that it binds to almost all polar and ionic molecules, allowing you to dissolve them. By doing this, it means that living things are able to dissolve all the ions and nutrients that they need, um, and perform the reactions in aqueous environment. So if your teacher thinks that water is non-polar, then like they like need help. I like there's literally a brand of sparkling water called Polar. So, all right. Um, I think I'm gonna call it there. Thank you all for coming. This is the first week of class. Next week we'll be delving deep into chemistry, so make sure you do brush up on that. Jason will go over intro chemistry for anyone who doesn't know on level one. For those who do know chemistry already, you can probably skip that Jason's primer lecture. If you need help, the Discord link will be sent out shortly. We'll get everything organized, and once the Discord link is sent out, please send your ID to Joseph. He's called at Carboxyl on Discord, and he can help you get set up with being verified for our premium server features, which is really just one channel. Additionally, if you want to read for the next week, the all the materials available on the syllabus in on the website and in the Canvas. If you We may update that syllabus at some point since I'm in the process of redoing some curriculum stuff. So just keep an eye out for that frequently. The link will be sent out in your emails and on Canvas probably tomorrow. Oh, we have a form now. Please use the Discord verification form. We'll send out information about that later. Thank you for coming tonight. It's so wonderful to see you, and I hope you all have a really wonderful evening.